Hi, and welcome to Dear Art Producer. I am your host, Heather Elder, and today is February 4th, 2022. Today we are joined by Senior Integrated Print Producer at Argonaut, Nelson Luesse. Nelson is a native New Yorker who, after a stint in the Navy, settled in the San Francisco area. His first job in advertising was at Goodby, Silverstein Partners, where he worked on Alaska Airlines, Starbucks, and Nike. Currently, he's enjoying his time at Argonaut in San Francisco working on Cricket Wireless, NerdWallet, and the Zebra. For Nelson, the best part about working at Argo is having the opportunity to explore and develop his talents in all forms of production, not just print. Welcome, Nelson. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Yeah, good. I asked you earlier where you were because we were all joking that we can all be anywhere right now. It doesn't matter. And you're in Oakland enjoying, I'm sure, a beautiful day like we are here in San Francisco.
Indeed. We are so lucky to live here.
Oh my gosh. I was with my husband the other day over the weekend, and we were just kind of walking around, and we both moved here about 25 or so years ago in February. And the weather over the weekend was such that it really reminded me of when I first moved here, that like perfectly crisp day that you weren't too cold and you weren't too hot. And the light was so sharp. And it just gave me that feeling of like, oh, I'm not in New England anymore. This is what winter is here. And this is really nice.
Right. No shoveling of snow or anything.
Yep. No,
and I remember when you and John moved here because that's when John started at Goodby.
Yeah, it was. It was his job. It was right after we got married and he was there, and it was such a fun time in our lives. I think he feels so fortunate to have been at Goodby for as long as he was and meet the people he did and learn what he did and work on the accounts. And I remember feeling so fortunate to be in San Francisco in the 90s with like such cool creative happening and working on cool projects with my photographers. And it was a really special time in the Bay Area then.
It really was. There was so much going on. The creativity it just seemed boundless.
It did. And we're probably dating ourselves, so we should probably move on. But it was really quite a cool time. So, I always like to start the podcast off just kind of asking a little bit about your story. And especially because I feel like producers never take the same path to the job that you're doing. And I know your background's a little bit unique, of course, having been in the Navy. And I just wondered if you can just give us a little bit about, how you got started and how production became a part of your life.
Sure. Well, I sort of fell into it haphazardly because when I got out of the Navy, I was stationed here in the Bay Area at the Concord Naval Weapons. And I got a job at a printing company and was there for about a year, just, doing odd deliveries, sort of like a sales assistant. And I was like, I really love this. I went in the Navy because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do in life. And it just turned out that this was it. I hadn't realized my potential yet, but I really, really enjoyed it. After I was at the printing company for a while, I started on the separation side on retouching. And I did that for about 12 years before landing the job at Goodby because they were one of my company's biggest accounts. And I was their customer service rep, the CSR, and just loved everything about it. Getting in the imagery, asking them questions on how did they shoot this? Where did they get things from? I fell in love with it. And they usually, on the printing side, they say you have ink in your blood. So that's sort of what happened to me. And that's when I started at Goodby.
Yeah, it's such a cool thing. Just imagining all the creativity that came across your desk at the time and being really inspired and excited by it.
Absolutely. You saw it from all the different agencies back in the day. I mean, now I'll really date myself. Like Panay, Herbers, Garvin, and Hawk, I think it was. I'm probably butchering the name at this point. But just all the big agencies in town, Hal Riney, so on and so forth. It was amazing to see what they were doing and how each creative, because they would usually talk with you about who was the art director, because you'd end up sending proofs to them and reviewing them together.
I always
on the phone.
I always thought that was such a cool part of my job too, getting to kind of see inside different ad agencies, right? You were at that same position, work from all these different creative shops would come through your studio in your place. So it wasn't just like you were in the vacuum of that one agency, you were getting to see it all. So it's no surprise that you end up at Goodby, because I'm sure that rose to the top. But it was really quite a cool time to see what was being created here in San Francisco.
Absolutely. I mean, when I started at Goodby, there was about 125 people.
Wow.
Yeah, and they blossomed over 600 at one point. I remember. I have no idea where they're at now, but yeah, that's the one thing. If you're in the Bay Area in the advertising industry, more than likely you've been there at some point in your career.
Yeah. Yeah,
You're
that's
just
pretty
lucky.
amazing. Yep,
Yeah.
they've grown some pretty amazing creatives there, and account people and media people. The industry is beholden to them for some pretty amazing talent.
Oh, absolutely. And all the offshoots,
Yep.
the other agencies that started after people were there,
Hmm.
it just is a testament to how amazing the talent is from that pool.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Well, tell me a little bit about what you're known for on your team now.
Um, well, just about a week ago, I was called the OG on cricket. Um, I'm the print guy, pretty much. I'm still proud to have print in my title. I know that's probably antiquated at this point. Everyone's moving over to, integrated or this or that, but I like my roots.
Hmm.
So that's important to me to hold on to. And that's usually the thing. People will come to me if they have a question because we have a lot of new people on board, and they'll not know what the processes are. So they'll come to me, and I'm always willing to listen and see how I can help and get back to them. If I don't know the answer to something, I am really upfront about it, and I'll say, I don't know that or I don't remember that, but tell you what, let me find out, and I'll be sure to get back to you.
Yeah, I mean that's such an important part of the producer role, right? Being the one who can either has the answer or can get the answer and follows up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that to me is a huge value because I have to be there to support everybody, the creatives to the brand managers to PR, whatever it is.
Well, and we've talked about this on the podcast before, this idea of reps and producers being translators of different language to different people on their team, right? I need to be able to translate my photographer language into your print production language, and you need to be able to take that and translate it into your creative or your client language or your account person language. We all want the same thing. We just go about it a little bit differently, and I think you and I have really important roles, and the producer on the photo shoot as well on this end, really making sure that we can communicate strongly, effectively, articulately, so that people get what they need.
Oh, absolutely. I'm constantly telling people that one of my biggest jobs is to be a translator. And you said it perfectly. That's exactly what we have to do because every vendor will have their own way of speaking and their own terminology for their craft. So we as producers, whether it be a photographer's producer or an agency's producer, we have to know all the different lingo in order to do that and do that effectively. Because if we don't understand what your people are telling us from the photo shoot side of things, then we're in trouble, you know,
Yeah.
and we will get ourselves in trouble because we will misspeak. So
Yeah.
you really need to get a good firm grip on the terminology for this job.
So talk to me a little bit about COVID, and has your role changed at all during COVID?
Well, obviously, working from home is the new normal. That we're not even looking at going back into the office anytime soon. And every time we think we're about to, another surge comes along or another variant. So that's the biggest change. I mean, we live on Zoom now. which is great as long as you don't mind being looking at a screen literally all day long.
I don't think any of us are used to looking at ourselves all day long. That's just I'm fine looking at a screen. I've always looked at one all day long, but just I don't need to see myself all day long.
I know, and we're, at least for myself, I will speak in my person. When people schedule something for an 8:30 meeting in the morning, I'm camera off.
Yeah.
I need that caffeine to start flowing and the coffee to get in my veins a little bit first.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, speaking of yesterday, we had a virtual Le Book all day event. So I had to be camera ready, functioning, caffeinated, awake, dressed by 6 a.m. at my desk. It
Oh,
was not easy. It was still dark and it was just definitely not easy.
I was a juror on Le Book last year, and we'll be at the in-person one coming up in March.
Oh, good. Oh
So
my
I'll see
gosh.
you
Well, I'll see
there.
you there.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Oh
definitely.
gosh, I can't wait. We did the in-person event in Chicago and in New York, and it was the first time we went out with books. And
Wow.
it felt so good to be there. I mean, we had masks on and everything, but it was so awesome just to like show people work and say hi and see people in person. And so I'm really looking forward to the San Francisco and LA ones.
Oh, me too. I really am. Just to be able to get out of the office, be in person with other humans.
Yep.
It's really super important.
Yeah, and you know what some people were doing, which I thought was really amazing. For all you art producers who are out there who are listening, definitely take this idea. They made it like a outing for their department. So they never get to see each other anymore. So everyone was like, "Oh, let's go to Le Book together." So the five of them from the department went to lunch, and then they came to Le Book, and it was really great. You can see that they were all excited to kind of be together too.
Oh, I love that idea. I'm going to suggest that.
Okay, good.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Um,
And as far as COVID,
yeah,
changing how we work, we've gone over to Google Suites, and email is Gmail. So everything's online now. We don't have to be in the agency in order to do it. But there are going to be occasions, obviously, when it will be best for creativity and building off of each other, where you will want to be there and work together as a team, especially for pitches or new campaigns. You need that interaction with others. And I've been seeing it since the beginning of the pandemic, actually, where some of our creative teams will be on the same Zoom call. They'll be at someone else's house nearby,
yeah,
so they're close, and they're comfortable, they're vaccinated and boosted, and they're okay with it. So it's like, yeah,
yeah.
let's get together, let's put our heads together in person.
You know, I, I think my next question for you is, what is the most challenging aspect of your job? But I like drafting off of what you were just saying. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm thinking one very challenging aspect of COVID for our jobs is this idea of collaboration, the importance of in-person collaboration for our industry. I mean, we all can collaborate over Zoom. We can have a phone call, but there's something about the energy that exists on set or in a room together that doesn't translate as well over Zoom. Would you agree with that?
I would. Some people seem to be able to get beyond that. But I in my heart, I know that collaboration in a one-on-one situation is going to bring about a better outcome. You're going to be able to bounce ideas off each other faster, I think, and you just like get energized from the other person's energy and what they're
Yeah.
talking about, and you hook into that, and all of a sudden magic happens.
I also think you learn so much by osmosis, right? Just by being in the office and being around other people who are creative and interesting, and those spontaneous moments. I miss that, right? At one point we had 3 employees here in my office. And now it's like I have to schedule time to call them, right? And have a scheduled conversation. There's not that spontaneous, like, oh my God, hey, you know what I was just thinking? So I miss that. And I know, my husband who started a new ad agency, he misses that. He's just like, we're growing a new culture here. And it's really hard when everybody's not in the office.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you gain a lot by it. You really
Mhm.
do. And
Yeah.
there's not really a solid replacement for it. Even though you're looking at someone on Zoom, it's not the same.
No, it's not the same. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it'll be really interesting to see where that goes in the future. Let's talk a little bit about actual production and your clients, and what sort of things are they asking of you right now? Are they hesitant to produce? Are they excited to produce because they know that there's protocols in place, and or are they producing photo shoots or motion shoots? Are they doing events or other things? Like what's coming across your desk?
Yeah. I'm sort of blessed because working at Argonaut and working on Cricket, which is one of their largest accounts, it's a nationwide brand, so they are always advertising somewhere somehow. So they really haven't been shy about producing. I've always got something coming across my desk for them, and that's great. It's great for us. It's great for the creative. No one really has the time to just rest on your laurels. You're always on the go. But there are other clients, that maybe they're trying different formats of media. They may try an out of home campaign on one quarter, and then try a social campaign the next, just to see where they're going to get the best rate of return on their investment for the advertising. So it really does depend on the client, but we're pretty darn lucky.
Oh, that's great. I know first quarter always tends to be a little bit slower than the rest of the year, just in that people are figuring out what they want to do and where they want to spend their money. And then you add to that at the beginning of this year, we had that obviously the surge. When we first got back to work, there were a few shoots that were getting canceled or postponed, not really canceled.
Mm.
They were getting postponed, but I'm feeling the energy change, or, I did feel the energy change pretty quickly. And things are definitely, robust again out there.
Right. Yeah. It was sort of unusual for me because when the pandemic hit, I was literally starting an internal photo shoot on that day. And Hunter came up to me and was like, sorry, we have to send you home.
Yeah.
You can't be in the office anymore. And we honestly thought it would last 2 weeks, maybe
Yeah.
more. But so that's sort of funny right there. But then I had another photo shoot with people, and we literally had to rush. Uh, and we had to localize where we did the shoot. So, for instance, LA was basically closed a few months in, and this shoot was going to take place in June. So, we looked at the photographers that we wanted to use and that were comfortable shooting in the pandemic, right after the
Hmm.
start of it.
Yeah.
And we really had to narrow down the choices and the people that we could use. And one of the things was demographics.
Yeah.
I was tracking on the New York Times
Oh, the
the
map.
COVID rates, across different cities,
Yeah.
depending on the photographer. And we ended up going to St. Louis and got in there and shot like right before they really got hit.
Yeah. Oh, that was smart.
Yeah. So it really that's one of the things that changed for us with the photo shoots. And now we've done a number of them, and we do them remotely, and there you go.
I mean, I'm constantly patting the industry on the back because, of course, the producers can figure it out, but everyone did such an amazing job of figuring out how to get back on set, how to create really compelling content, even within the, COVID restrictions. And, they really brought an industry back to life.
Absolutely. I mean, last year, no, not last year. It's, the years sort of
I
blur
know
together,
they
right?
meld together, don't they?
They really have. I think it was the fall of 2020. We did a stop motion shoot internally at Argonaut, and did it all internal. We were super careful with everyone having PPE, everyone having their shots updated at the time. Oh wait, the shots weren't available yet. No, so we all wore masks the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was really different. But I'll tell you, like you and I were just saying about creativity bouncing off and uh, growing from one-on-one communication. That's exactly what happened during the shoot.
Yeah.
And you could see it. Everyone was so thrilled to be with each other on set, you know?
Yep.
And that turned out awesome. It really did.
Yeah. No, it's very energizing. So, do you have any predictions for production this year? Do you think we're gonna? Yeah, I don't even want to put any ideas in your head. Like, what do you see coming down the pike here about production in the next year?
I think it's going to just continue on and get back to almost normal. I think, in my opinion, that the country as a whole is tired of being cooped up, and they want to be out there. They are realizing that we're going to have to live with COVID for a while,
Hmm.
and it may be that we live for it forever. But we've got to move forward. We've got to move on and keep productions going safely so everyone's safe and healthy. And there are ways to do it. So you just have to take the precautions.
Let's talk a little bit about estimating.
Mhm.
When you're estimating a job, are your clients sharing budgets with you, and do you therefore share them with the vendors that you're reaching out to? And if you don't, why? Or if you do, what's the value in that for you?
Sure. Um, it goes by client. Sometimes a client will say, hey, we have $50,000 to do this, or we have $250,000 to do this. A lot of times I will not share that with the vendors that I'm looking at because I want them to give me an honest answer of what the costs take. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, if I tell somebody, oh, I have X amount of dollars to do this, and they come in right at that number, I'm left feeling like, well, is that the real number? Or is that just a number that they wanted to hit to get in budget? Uh, so it's a fine line that you have to walk with it.
I do
Um,
feel like where it becomes pretty critical to know the budget is when, and you're experienced enough to know when it's not enough.
yes,
Right? So if
absolutely.
you have $250,000 for a budget and you know that the job can be done for that, and telling me, you know what, let's just see where you come in at, I can deal with that. But if you come to me, especially if I don't know you and I've never worked with you, and you knew you've got 50 grand and it probably is $150,000 budget, having me go through the exercise of that is not helpful, because I'd rather know that you don't have enough money and you're trying to get more money from your client. I'd rather know up front that you're trying to hit a number that might be really hard. So then I can call in favors or, think a little bit more scrappy. And
Absolutely.
it's
Oh,
always
don't
harder
use
to
that
go
word.
back to people and ask them to cut. So wait, what did you say? I missed what you said.
I'm sorry. That word you use, scrappy.
Oh yeah.
Oh gosh, we do not like that word.
No, I know. It's really hard. But I
Because
think,
it means that you're doing it on the cheap or something, and that's
yep,
not always the case. It's
yep,
just that you have to be more efficient with your time and
more
you know
resourceful.
resources. And
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. If I know that I've only got $50,000 on a shoot and I need X amount of imagery at the end, I'll be right up front with you, especially someone like you, Heather, that I know and I know is not going to take advantage of that
Yeah.
situation. um, I try to be open and honest with everybody whenever I can be, you know, and I'll say, I'm not comfortable with sharing that budget at this point. Um, or I'll say, you know what, this is a super tight budget. And to be honest, we've got to do this whole thing with retouching for 50,000,
Yeah.
because I don't want you to have to go through the rounds of estimating and getting all costs aligned. And then, it was for naught. I'm not
Yeah.
going to waste your
Yeah.
time. Your
Yeah.
time is too valuable.
Well, talking about, transparency and sharing, do you share who else is, what other vendors you're considering for a project? What other photographers or directors you're considering?
I usually won't share that, but I will share when it gets down to like the final three. Like you may start with, I don't know, 30, 40 different people
Yeah.
that you're looking at, depending on the creative and what you have to do, um, and get it down to like the final five or the final three.
Hmm.
And once I get to that point, I'll tell the rep that, hey, your photographer is in the final three. We're leaning towards that person or another person, but we're really going to leave it up to the client at this point to decide. And just be honest, at
Yeah.
that point, and just say, this is where we're at, you know?
I used to be such a huge advocate for, sharing that information. So I'd always raise my hand and ask who else we were bidding. I felt like there's a lot of information that was valid information to be gotten from that. And I remember having dinner with a production friend once who really explained to me why he did not like sharing who else was in the bidding process. He would be happy to share once the job was awarded and tell you who you were up against.
Right.
But his point of view was that, sometimes it gets in the photographers' heads. They're like, oh, I bid against that person all the time. This is what they do. They're high, they're low, whatever.
Yeah.
Or they start thinking, oh, that person has got a lot of CGI. That must be what they want. So I'm going to, curtail my approach that way. And I started to think about that. And I was like, wow, there's some freedom that goes along with not knowing, right? Like you chose me for a reason, you or my photographer for a reason. So let's be completely true to the creative call and to the deck and to what we see as our vision. And know that, especially knowing that you're presenting three to the client. And nowadays, I'm telling you, over the last few years, agencies are very comfortable with their clients choosing. So it
Yeah.
really can go any way. And they're presenting three amazing choices to their client. So I always feel like now I don't really want to know. I want to know when it's over. 100%. I'm really
Yeah.
curious. It helps me from a marketing point of view. It helps me figure out where they're considered on the spectrum of, that type of work. But I've stopped asking.
Well, I think that's safe. And it's safe for the creative process because, like you said, if I was to tell you who you're bidding up against and the photographer that you have is the one that lands the job, I don't want them second guessing themselves on the
Yep.
shoot. I want them to be able to give us their point of view, their creative thought process,
Yeah.
because that's why we hired them.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
It's interesting.
we saw something special in their book and in the discussions we had with them at that point. And, a lot of times we'll go to our client and say, here are the three, here's our preferred, you know, and leave it up to them at that point.
Yeah.
I've had some clients, say, hey, if you like this one, great, let's do that. And then I've had others that are just the opposite. They're like, no, I don't like any of these. Go back and look for some more.
Yeah.
So you never know.
Yeah. No, it's true. Okay, so what about treatments? Do you ask for them a lot? Do you present them to your client? And if you do ask for them, do you share them with your client? Do you share the whole thing or just a portion? They take so much time. I'm always very curious about how you value them at different agencies.
Right. No, we generally don't ask for treatments that I've seen so far. Usually we are pretty straightforward in the look and the vibe and the feel of what we're hoping for. And that's communicated in pre-bid or pre-shoot meetings with the
Hmm.
photographer and the creatives. And that's all put out there right up front. Usually if there's something special that needs to happen, we'll do that in post in either CGI or retouching. Like for cricket, we use animated characters for cricket, and those have to be incorporated in with the human photography.
Hmm.
Excuse me, human photography that we shoot. So that has to be married together, and it has to look seamless. So a lot of times treatments are not necessary.
Yeah. Gosh,
Yeah.
I would love to see treatments be asked for once the job is awarded, because I've had photographers tell me like they feel like they've produced the job in their mind when they've done the treatment ahead of time. And then they don't get the job. And it's such a, I mean, first of all, it takes forever and there's a lot of time and effort and money spent on them. And then when they don't get the job, it's that much more disappointing because they've
Mm.
put their creative heart into that project. And I've always thought, wow, like, to what would that treatment look like if they didn't have to do it before, but they did it when they found out they won the job? Like that feels to me like that would be a really great time to push for a treatment.
I agree. I agree. I think if you're doing that before you're awarded the job, it's doing a disservice because people get wrapped up in it, and like you said, they get ownership of the treatment and how it would look, and it gets exciting for them.
Yeah.
And that's terrible to get someone all amped up on something and then pull the rug out from under
Well, I want to bid on more jobs with you then because
Don't worry,
so
I've
we'll
got
work
that
on
one
that.
coming up next month. So I'll be talking to you.
Okay, we'll work on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what about, this idea, like, is there anything that you think clients should understand more in terms of the review process? Is there anything that you hit your head up, or that's not the right expression, but you come up against, or you bump up against when presenting photographers to clients that you just feel like they don't understand? Or do you think clients nowadays, or at least maybe your clients, have a really good handle on what the process is and what they need to be looking at for the selection?
Um, Once again, I'm very lucky. Cricket is awesome. They have a very good understanding of the process, and selects. They know we have really worked extremely hard to show them the final selects that we're happy with, and we'll outline them. We'll drop them into the comps and bring them along the journey that we're going on creatively, so that there's not really a need to catch them up, but it may just be, this is how we feel about this shot. And they'll come back and they'll say, okay, great, but we would like to see this um, bigger, or more in the foreground instead of behind. So they have a good creative aspect and look that they're hoping to achieve as well, and we work as a team to make it happen.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is great. You are fortunate. Well, let's back up, like, I guess before even the estimating stage, how are photographers and directors and even reps, how are they connecting with you now? I feel like obviously we can't come to the office and show portfolios anymore. So how are people staying in touch with you?
Yeah, that's the sad reality of working from home. And I miss that. We used to have, at least once a month, we'd have a rep come in, and we had our calendar, and we'd fit reps in every month. Make sure that we get them in, so that it helps our creatives. We'd have the whole creative team open to the invite, production teams, and we would all go in and look at the art
Yeah, I
and the
miss
work.
that too.
So it is really tough not having that anymore. I look forward to the day we get back to it. But for the time being, it's been email, to be honest. And, being a producer, I get,
Oh my God, so many emails, I bet. I'm
oh,
sorry.
yeah, no, no, hey, um, it's my job. It is my job. I consider it part of my job that, I need to look at all these. And see what's going to benefit, or, hey, this might be a good treatment that they're doing over here, or I like this style really a lot. And I think for this client, whether it be Cricket or Zebra or whoever, they're going to like it. So let me give it to the brand manager, share it out. And we do that on a regular basis, all the producers. When we see something that's really hot or we really key into, we will share those emails with the entire agency. So I say email, keep it coming.
And is there a message that rises to the top and catches your attention, or is it always the work, right? Is it, you probably are looking to be inspired right now?
Yes, inspiration is number one. I will tell you one thing that turns me off pretty quickly is when I open an email and you have the GIF at the top that's super quick, flashing through images of everything that's in the email. That turns me off almost immediately because I can't let my eyes settle on
Yeah.
one thing and enjoy it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and a lot of reps now are doing that. They're having this quick flash imagery at the top of their emails. To be honest, I almost don't look at them. If it's someone I don't know, there's a higher probability that I will just delete it.
Yeah, I mean, I've always looked at email as interruptive marketing, right? I am literally coming into your inbox at a time when you haven't invited me in. I'm just hitting send on it. And I represent, 13 photographers. So we're all sending emails out, and that's a lot. So multiply that by all the many other reps and photographers and videographers and other vendors that are emailing you. So I really try and create and advise my teams to create content that has some sort of value in it for you. Either it's an inspiring, incredible photograph that I'm sharing, or there's some sort of story or production value or something that if you decided to dig deeper into the imagery or the story, you would learn something about how to work with my group. So that and I also know that, like, because I'm interrupting you, you might hit delete, and that's okay. Like, you have so many, right? So, but I do always try and have some sort of, solution message or production or creativity message along with the image, which I hope is inspiring. So,
Right. And it is super helpful. If it is a targeted look or a special look on a campaign or something, and then tying in some of the story, especially if someone went above and beyond to create this work, it's inspiring and it will pull you in. At least it will pull me in
yeah.
to read a little bit about what it took to get those images.
Now, Nelson, do you guys ever do Zoom portfolio shows?
You know, very rarely.
Yeah.
Um, it's just a matter that there is so much Zoom that people, if they don't have to, they don't.
Yeah.
We will, and I'll be honest, we will invite certain either companies if they're doing something special that we want to share out. If there's a really beautiful campaign someone did and we want to see more because we feel it would fit in with one of our clients' needs, so we're very picky and we're very,
Mhm.
we'll choose one or the other, or very rarely it's done, but it is done.
Yeah. No, I run into that all the time. I mean, Zoom fatigue is real,
Yeah.
and I have created presentations that, are not just tours of my website, right? I'm trying to be dynamic and interesting and innovative in how I present our group to people so that, and try and do it in a pretty good clip, so we can be in and out of there in a half an hour. But even when I do that, there's so many times that I'm on a Zoom, presenting and all the cameras are off, which is, again, totally fine. But I recognize that it's just not the ideal way. And I think we have to just find really interesting ways to stay connected. And we're doing more of the books and the pay to play events. And we're hoping our emails are, targeted and inspiring. And, it's that much harder, I think, right now to get in front of people in a meaningful way.
Right. And, to that point a little bit, you and I've reached out to you a couple times after receiving some of your emails because I did like what I saw.
Yeah, you're so good about that. Thank you. That
Oh,
makes me feel
yeah.
nice.
Well, it's encouraging too because I see something that struck a chord,
Yeah.
and I'll do that with the people I know. And, I don't usually do that with people I don't know unless I really want to learn more.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had conversations with rep friends before that I'm so happy I've been doing this for as long as I have. And I had the opportunity to make the relationships that I did along the way, and that I made a name for myself, so that even though if there's someone I don't know, they might recognize the name or recognize the effort that I've put into the industry or whatever. Because I think it would be really hard right now to start out in the last couple of years without the ability to go knock on doors and get to know people. I think that would be really hard.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine doing that at this point.
Yeah, yesterday in Lubbock, I was a little Bitmoji, and Lorianne was too. We were these like little, it was funny. And I thought, oh my gosh, is this what's going to happen next? Are we going to be putting VR headsets on and like showing work that way, like walking through virtual galleries? And I thought, oh my God, I cannot get ahead of myself here. Let's just get through today.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
But
Don't
I'm
go
sure
there,
it's
Heather.
all going to change again. So I'll just train the next person to figure that out.
Absolutely. I feel the same way. It's like, yeah, okay, I'm sure it will happen. I'll be long retired at that
Yeah, let's
point.
Well, before we wrap up, Nelson, this has been such an amazing and inspiring conversation, a great first one for 2022. I always ask the same last questions, and one of them is, what is your favorite thing to do on a Sunday?
Oh, on a Sunday, stitch. I
Oh,
I am an avid embroiderer and cross stitcher.
oh, wow. Oh my gosh, that's cool. My mom used to needlepoint, and I did that with her when I was really little. And I've always wondered if it's something I should take up again, although can't see as well as I used to, so that might be hard. But
Well, trust me, you think I'm doing this without magnifiers? Oh,
yeah. Wow, is
yeah.
it relaxing?
Oh, it is. That's why I do it.
Okay.
Um, I can sit there and start stitching, and I'm looking at a chart. I'm concentrating on where things are going and the style and the stitch type that I'm creating. And I just go into this zone. I sort of zen out.
Wow,
And
send me a picture of one of them. I'd love to see it.
oh, sure, yeah, no, I enter them in the Marin County Fair when there used to be in-person fairs, and I'm part of an embroidery guild up there, Marin Golden Threads. So
Oh, I like that name.
yeah, awesome group of ladies. I'm the only guy,
That's great.
and that's fine. Everyone's so supportive and loving, and it's just a great group. So
Oh,
I
how
really
nice.
enjoy it.
That's awesome. Okay, so here's my last question. If you weren't a producer, what would you be?
Oh boy. Well, this is that answer is very non-advertising.
Okay.
um, because during the recession around 2009, things got so slow that I went back to college. And I took up laser technologies as my study, my course study, and I aced it and I loved it. So honestly, I think I would, if I wasn't doing this, I would probably go back to college, get my degree in laser technologies, and strap lasers to shark heads or something. I don't know.
That's great. Oh my gosh. Well, I love that answer. That is like, I can tell you for sure, have not heard that as an answer before when I've asked it. I've done about 80 of these podcasts. So that's great. You get the most unique award.
Yay.
That's awesome. Well, Nelson, truly, this has been a really exciting and inspiring conversation. As I said earlier, I'm so happy to tee off 2022 with you. And this was great. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Heather. It was really comfortable doing this, and I was really stoked. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Absolutely. Have an awesome weekend. It's Friday.
You too.